Chapter 15, Building Skills for Home and Community by Taylor, Jenny, and Logan. These are guidelines for planning instruction to enhance skills for the home and community. In this, families and teachers must come together when deciding what skills the student needs to learn for life outside of the classroom. The skills must honor their family values, preferences, and vision for the future. Instructions should be planned to encourage the students' self-determination by offering choices, honoring preferences, and encouraging self-directed learning. Where and how to teach should be balanced with skills across different community settings. Home and community skills should gain importance as the student gets older. Instruction should be coordinated with the transitional planning. Guideline 1 of 6. Use person-centered planning strategies to create a vision. We have focus and methods of instruction. That includes a collaboration of vision making and service planning for the future of the student. Everyone must work together. This includes the teachers and family and the student to work together to focus on what is best for the student's future. It should be driven by the student and family's preferences and priorities and future goals to meet the vision. The person-centered planning should include the student, family, teachers, specialists, support from non-school services. It should be determined what the desirable future or vision for the student is that is appropriate for the student. They should determine what activities, services, and supports are necessary to reach these goals. We should use existing resources to make the vision a reality. If there's a future in the student working as a cashier someday, they should continue the lessons in school in making change, using a register, counting money. Multi-person centered planning must consider the following questions. These questions help define the student's strengths, goals, medical needs, needs at home, and in the community. Some of the questions include, or some of the multi-person centered approaches include personal future planning, lifestyle planning, making action plans or maps, planning alternative tomorrows with hope or path. These questions include, what is the student's history and current life situation? What are the strengths and the gifts of the student? What is the vision or dream of the student? What does the student actually want to do? What are the team's fears, obstacles, or challenges in building a better life for the student? What can the student actually do, and what is realistic for the student? What are their priorities and goals for the future, and what will it take to make this vision happen? Guideline number 2, coordinate instructions with the family. Coordinating doesn't always include the structured person-centered planning approach. Sometimes the team needs to come together to problem solve immediate concerns of the family or the student. They need to focus of instruction may need to be more than just instruction. It may need to work on home and community skills and reinforce lessons learned at school. The staff can offer support in helping plan and implement home and community instruction. This might include giving families the resources to create a home schedule or a calendar of what is happening for that day or that week. This could also include making a first and then visual for the activities at home or in the community that the student may need to work on. Staff can help develop instructional strategies. Families and the staff need to determine what works best for the family at home. It may be different than at school, but to determine what's best for the family at home. To teach parallel skills at school for home use. Provide information for parents to teach at home. This could include with self-prompting videos, which could be clips of what the student should be doing as they maybe set the table or put the dishes away from the table. Video modeling and prompting. The family could have a video available for how to brush their teeth, showing the steps in order from finding the toothbrush, to putting the toothpaste on, to getting the toothbrush wet, and then actually brushing and rinsing. Guideline 3. This is to encourage self-determination. Instructional goals are matched to a student's preference and vision for the future. They're enhanced when self-determination is enhanced when the student learns to exert control and self-direct their own learning. Some approaches to infuse self-directed learning into instruction for home and community settings include choice making, self-cueing, and self-management skills. And we'll talk about those in the next few slides. Choice is an expression of preference and control. It is the act of selecting among presented options. The choice diversity model embeds choice options in home and community instructions. So at school, teachers can analyze steps of a task and then identify the choice options that can be made available at various steps. They can then identify between activity choices. Within the activity choices, such as maybe getting the materials needed or the sequence of activities to complete, all of these are embedded within the steps of the task analysis. An example of this could be cleaning up after a meal. The student is offered the choice of clearing the dishes or clearing the food from the table. Other choices are offered while they are doing whatever they chose, such as what food they would like to clear first or what dish they would like to clear first. They can also be offered the choice of when they would like to complete the activity. Would they like to do it now or later? Or if they would like someone to help, or if they'd like to do it alone. Students may also choose not to participate or to end the activity or the task when they desire. Students should be taught to end the activity in an appropriate way, such as using a break card rather than engaging in problem behavior. So they should be offered to take breaks if they need to prevent the problem behavior. Using actual objects or pictures to offer choices may be more useful than just using statements or using words. Using closed questions can also help students when they're unfamiliar with a task. And instructors are encouraged to quickly respond to student choices. For example, saying, "That's a great idea. We should clear the plates first." Self-cueing. Students can become overly dependent on the prompts and cues that they're given. They can fail to learn how to independently initiate activities, complete tasks, and apply what they have learned. Teachers can lessen the reliance of prompts by using natural environmental cues and using self-operating prompting systems or other self-management strategies to help support the students' independence. The next slides will go over these strategies. Natural cues and adapted cues. So natural cues might include, "Hey, let's wash the dishes." That would be an instructional prompt. Or the teacher may say, or may actually just look or point to the dirty dishes in the sink as a cue for the student to maybe start cleaning up the dishes. Or they might say, "What do you think we should do next when the activity is over?" Such as maybe they're done eating and the teacher should say, "What do you think we should do now?" Some adapted clues include maybe color coding the oven dials so that they show the low, medium, and hot setting. Offer placement of cues to hang matching outfits together as they're getting ready or preparing for the day. Also using unrelated, naturally occurring events to signal activity. This could be when the evening news is over, that signals it's time to start cooking dinner or start eating dinner. Self-operated prompting systems. They consist of cues such as pictures, visual, audio signals, or video recordings that the students can operate to prompt their initiation of activities and completion of steps in chained tasks or routines. So students can use these when they are unable to remember what happens next or what is expected of them. Sometimes students with severe disabilities have difficulties initiating or remembering what comes next in a multi-step task. These systems can serve as a memory aid for students. So if they forget what step they're on, they can either go check their chart if it's a non-technology system, or if it's a technology system, they can watch a video to see what happens next. Some systems are the technology system, the no technology system, and the software apps. So the technology system is electronic and computer software, usually computer software. Some examples are a handheld audio recorder, so they can listen to see what is next. A smartwatch to see what time it is, or to see different tasks on their smartwatch. A smartphone can give them different apps to use. Some of the apps we'll talk about the next slide. And computer tablets with the same thing, with the different apps on them. The no technology systems are paper-based, and they can be static or talking photo albums, laminated charts with movable Velcro pictures, so they can change the order of things, text or picture lists, or a monthly or daily picture calendar. Self-operating prompting systems using software applications or apps include the this one over here, the iPrompt or ChoiceWorks, and that is a visual support that creates a picture guide, a sequence of pictures to guide the students on a specific order of something. The first and then visual schedules, the visual shopping list, the My Routine, that is a visual story notifying the student about what happens next. Up here we have Remembering the Milk, which is a virtual to-do list. And we have the reminder with voice reminders, so the student can or teacher can record their own voice and replay it to see what is to happen next. Some considerations for choosing self-operating prompting systems are the user consideration, the system consideration, teacher and family consideration, and the overall consideration. So in the user consideration, is a self-operating prompting system needed or desirable? Which prompts or cues is the student able to understand and follow within that system? Does the student have a preference for a particular system? Some system considerations include which system is better suited to the task or learning goal? Is the device appropriate or allowed? Some smartphones are not allowed in schools. What is the cost of the device, and can the student afford it? Teacher and family considerations are, will the supporter be able to maintain the system over time? Is it something that the family can charge at home and keep track of? Is the tech support available if needed? Sometimes these programs can be difficult to use, and if there's a glitch or something, is there tech support available? And overall, which system is suitable to the task and setting and will be able to produce the most effective and efficient outcome for the learner? Okay, self-management is defined as the processes used by an individual to influence his or her own behavior. So to self-manage behavior, students must be able to set goals, self-monitor, self-evaluate, and self-reinforce. With goal setting, they need to be able to set personal performance goals for themselves. Self-monitoring, they need to be able to record their progression towards their goals. Self-evaluation, they need to evaluate the acceptability of performance outcomes. They need to be able to understand that they might not always succeed, so and understand that that's okay. Self-reinforcement, they need to be able to tell themselves that they've done a great job, that they did the best they can do, they've succeeded. Self-management. Some ways to self-manage are to self-instruct or to self-schedule. Self-instruct might include using self-talk, talk themselves through the steps. So use self-talk to talk themselves through the steps. by identifying the problem, find the correct response, and evaluating the response and self-reinforcing. Self-scheduling might include being self-directed, control multiple tasks, like they can do multiple tasks at once, like walk to lunch and drop off some papers on the way to lunch. They can use a picture or calendar template, or some sort of digital calendar. The learners can also plan what to do and when they can do it or when they should do it. Students should learn that maybe after FIAD is lunch and that they can prepare for lunch when FIAD is over.
The fourth guideline is selecting appropriate instructional settings. This can sometimes be a challenge. Skills for the home and the community differ from typical school settings. Everything that you need for at home isn't necessarily always needed at school, and what's needed at school isn't always needed at home. So that can cause a challenge. So that gives us 3 options for instruction. First, we can embed home and community skills within typical school routines or classes. Second, we can use school-based simulations of home and community settings. This could be something like practicing going to the doctor's, and you have an area set up in the school to act as a doctor's office, and the student goes through a simulation of that. These could also be online simulations as well, which you'll learn about in a little bit. The third option would be in vivo instruction or in-home, in-community instruction. The first 2 options require some collaboration with family and instruction within the community to help generalize the skills that are learned, where the in vivo instruction is taking place within the community or the home. Next, as we go a little bit deeper in embedding the skills in typical school activities and settings, we're asking, how can the skills for the home and community be incorporated into the school setting? This can look like many things within the class, from counting out money and making a purchase in the school bookstore, from food prep while learning about other cultures and social studies or in a foods class, to housekeeping skills when at the end of the class students have to clean up. Those are all opportunities to embed different life skills for students to learn within normal instructional time. These skills that the students are learning are typically called functional component skills, and you can blend these with Common Core instruction. An example of that would be teaching how to dress for the weather while teaching about the different elements in a science class. Rain, sleet, snow, etc. Usually, this is ideal for teaching component skills that will be applied later in their life, in their routines at home or in the community, which will be critical for students' learning. Another way that you can teach these functional skills would be involving typical peers. This could be having students, as they walk down the hallway, model the community sight words, like women on a bathroom door, or saying the name of a piece of change while they're paying for something, i.e. like quarter, nickel. It appears to be less teacher-like to the student and helps to build the peer interaction within class. It can also help students learn their vocabulary and the skills that are needed for their future. This leads us into our next option, which is using simulations of home and community activities. Why are simulations important? Well, some skills are really hard to apply in a typical school setting or the school's lessons, the educational lessons. So, if we want our goal for students to become as independent as they can be, we need to be able to teach them skills, but they also need to be able to apply those skills in their life. This is where simulations come in handy. These could be simulations to purchase fast food, buy clothes, a job interview, who knows? But there are a few steps that we need to follow within the simulations. These steps of the simulation start with developing a task analysis of the skill to help target critical skills. This will be typically when you pick a skill that you want to focus on, having the student go out, perform the skill, and observe them, see what needs work done and what does the student need to help master that skill. Following that, you set up a simulation of that task, and you teach the task analysis to the student. This will allow the student to start to understand and improve and grow within the skill or skills that they're focusing on. Once the student has mastered the skill or skills, invite the family to observe their kid as they display these new skills. These observations show that the student can generalize their skills learned from the simulation and translate it into the community or home with both the teachers and the caregivers. Something that's important as well for the student would be to advise the family to allow that student to go out and practice it and continue to improve, because the students need to be able to generalize every single skill in different aspects of life, i.e., no restaurant is the same, no store is the same, but we're teaching skills that hopefully they will generalize and be able to bring into other areas of the community. There are also different kinds of simulations, and these include computer or video-based simulations. Some examples of that would be video modeling or video prompting. These simulations can either be entirely technology-based or blended within the classroom simulations as well. By blending them, you actually increase the stimuli in their settings, which is really beneficial as it will help them to succeed more in the development of these skills. The video simulations can be interactive online as well, and has been shown to translate into natural settings, but blending is still recommended. Sometimes the video simulations that are interactive, sometimes they work and the student pulls the skills out and they're able to translate them into everyday life. But sometimes they need more prompting or different examples to help them generalize. An example of this would be matching clothing tags to sizes online and then taking their skills into a store and practicing it while they're looking through the clothing racks. Some other important information about classroom simulations is that you should use the actual items, and if you can't get the actual items, it's okay to use replicas. This is to better help students familiarize and generalize what they're using, and to get a feeling for the size and whatnot of the items. We should have the students practice actual responses, so we should be asking actual questions that will happen in a natural setting. We also need to consider using different variations of the same simulation to better help with the generalization that they're going for. This is why video models are a wonderful tool to use. It not only does it add a different type of simulation of the same skill, but sometimes they even represent the natural cues better than a normal simulation would. Following that, we also should consider allowing students to practice these simulations within the community or home. Sometimes it's hard to simulate things only in a classroom or only online, when if you go to a store or you're practicing them at home in the actual setting, sometimes it helps students to understand and generalize those skills better and more effectively. Our last way to teach the skills would be to teach in vivo, or to teach in the home and community. Sometimes simulations can't simulate all the skills, and sometimes are difficult to create to target multiple skills that are needed to be taught. Now, typically teaching in the home or in the community is reserved for older students, since that time typically will compete with the general education schedules or classes. You'll see a lot of students that are 19 to 21 that are going through the transition from school to job training or life. using teaching in vivo to help them grow within their skills. The fifth guideline is incorporating general case instruction. General case instruction helps to maximize the generalization within different community settings. This, in terms, means that every store, restaurant, or setting is slightly different, which makes generalization sometimes hard for students. Generalization of these skills will help students to use the skills across multiple different places, whether it's from ordering things from fast food restaurants, locating information, or using debit card machines. There's so many different things in the community these days that you might think are similar, but there's slight differences. So these students need to be able to boost their generalizational skills by practicing in different ways. The last guideline is coordinating instruction with transition planning. Many of the skills that we're seeking students to know are more suitable for adolescents rather than children because they're transitioning into adulthood. Typically, you'll see transition years are 14 and up, with an emphasis of 18 or 19 to 21 after senior year of high school. This helps to increase community and home instruction. What that means is when they're transitioning, there is more of a focus on that, what we would call in vivo instruction. It also helps to individualize the instruction. As they're transitioning, you're going to start to individualize what they're learning, what they need to know, what the skills they need for the future, which is really important. Some schools have post-secondary programs that are entirely community-based. Sometimes this could mean that there's a house or a business within the community that the students go to learn these different skills. But then there's also post-secondary educational programs that are starting to rise up in colleges now. This allows for an inclusive educational environment for these students with other people that are their age. These programs are typically or sometimes staffed by a school district, as the public education should continue to 21. Some of the programs, students will attend a life skills class with other students that have disabilities. And this would be something like at a college. It would allow for students to participate within college activities for community-based instruction. It would allow for them to participate in job training and or continuing their education while on a college campus. The students will still receive support from multiple sources as progressing through their IEP goals. These sources will include teachers, paraprofessionals, job coaches, and other peers, which is important as it shows that people care about them and they care about their future as they're learning these skills to be the most successful person that they can be.
Skills for the home. The first skill that we are going to talk about is food preparation. It's important for students to learn this because it teaches socialization. The students will be cooking with family or friends. Cooking can also be recreational, so they might be interested in watching cooking classes or joining a class. And it is vocational, so students who enjoy cooking might seek a job in that food industry. Students are highly motivated to participate because they can consume the results. Here are a few steps in teaching food preparation. The first step would be learning how to plan. The second step would be food preparation, so cutting up the food or getting all the ingredients together. Then the third step would be teaching safe food storage. And then the last step would be to teach them how to clean up their mess when they're done. It's important to engage these students, so honoring their personal preferences and also encouraging nutrition is important. Here are some ways to help teach food preparation. Students may be taught sight words to help read recipes. Another way to help teach food preparation is to make teacher-made instruction booklets. The third way is to use picture recipes for those who enjoy visuals and may have difficulty reading. And then the last step would be video self-prompting, which is showing them a video of the skill being done or a teacher making their own video, showing them how to use everything and do the skill. How to help make instruction efficient while encouraging self-directed learning. It's important that we make more of a smaller group when teaching the skills. And it is also important that we use systems or prompts to help them. Another thing is to consider using information about nutrition and safety. And then probe to access learning, which is recording the steps that they do alone. And then probe for generalization is observing and taking note of if they are able to follow picture directions or picture steps from an unknown recipe on their own, and kind of just recording which ones they're able to do. Another skill that is important for students to learn is housekeeping. Transitioning from relying on parents is important because they need to learn how to do certain tasks without their parents' help. Individuals need to learn how to perform housekeeping and laundry tasks, and individuals learn how to manage their time so they can complete these tasks regularly without the support of their parents. One of the housekeeping skills that we should teach are bed making skills. Prompting students through the whole task analysis. So these steps might look like this, where the student is first going to make a partially unmade bed, and then the second they will exhibit stripping a bed, and then they will make a bed completely after that. It is also important to teach laundry skills. Researchers have used the following methods: system of least prompts, time delay, and most to least prompting. When applying these strategies, it is important to use the students' preferences. Maybe they learn best using visuals or using audio. It's also important to teach students home safety skills. Skills to be learned are responding to emergencies, so learning how to call 911 and when it is appropriate to do that. Another would be evacuating a building for any emergency reason, maybe like a fire. Another skill to be learned is using first aid. Where can they locate the first aid box and how to use the materials inside of it. Avoiding hazards and creating a safe environment. So learning how to lock the doors when they might be home alone. So to teach these home safety skills, you can teach lessons at school and or at home. And these lessons can include props or visuals of things that they might see when being put into these situations. They could also explore videos, or we can create videos of scenarios. And we can also set up mini simulations to observe whether the student can apply these skills. So maybe that would be a fake fire drill when they're at their house or at the school or in a building. Where should they evacuate? And they should learn these skills so that it helps them. Another skill that's important for them to know is how to use a phone. Phones are related to daily living skills like placing orders, getting information, and responding to emergencies. And they're also used for social skills, like calling your friends or your family. To teach phone skills, one being emergency calling, has been successfully taught by using task analysis and pictures of emergency situations. You could also create simulations where students can practice calling during emergencies and give students least to most prompting. So start by giving them a least amount of prompting to most amount of prompting, or that they can prompt with more prompts to not having that many prompts. Also, we need to frequently allow opportunities for students to use the phones by letting them make a phone call or receive a phone call and allowing them to practice in their real lives. Another thing that is important to teach students is sexuality education. It is important to foster healthy sexual attitudes and behaviors. It is also important to focus on body awareness, body parts and names, health and hygiene, relationships, self-protection and advocacy, and self-esteem and gender identity. It seems like far too often that students with disabilities are forgotten about when it comes to sexuality education, and they are also human, so it is important that we teach them the skills that have to do with their own bodies. Ways to help teach students about sexuality is by using commercial sexuality curricula. They are available to help guide instruction if you are new to teaching students about their sexuality. You could also teach students during typical routines in natural life. So maybe while they're doing a life activity such as going to the doctor, or you could talk about, as a parent or as a doctor, talk about the different body parts, or if they're younger, while they might be getting their diaper changed, being able to talk about the different parts of their bodies. It is also important to provide questions through fake scenarios. So what would you do if a staff member touched you or a specific body part, and just to see what they consider to be okay and not okay. You could also teach them the no, go, tell method. So that would be them addressing the situation and saying no, and then going to get out of that situation, and then finding someone to tell what happened. So teaching them those steps are important. Skills for the community are important also for all students to learn, especially when transitioning out of their parents' house. We want to teach students safety skills. As students gain increased independence in the community, they are exposed to greater risk. One of the things that we want to teach students is home safety. So what kind of steps they need to take to be safe in a home, as well as the community. For example, crossing the street safely or walking away from strangers. Here are a few ways to teach safety skills. Number one being you can role play and add simulations to the classroom. Number two is embedding direct instructions or adding extra information during the instruction of other community skills. Like I had mentioned before, you could also use the no, go, tell. So if the student is feeling unsafe, they need to tell the situation no, they need to leave and go away from the situation, and then find someone to tell about the situation. And then also exposing the students to real situations. So if the student's comfortable or semi-comfortable, it could be a good idea to put the student in a situation in the school where they are safe, but might not know a way to get back to the classroom. And so they need to try to learn, assisted maybe, how to get back to the classroom and learn how to use surroundings when they are lost. Another community skill that is important for students to learn is how to purchase items at the store. Teachers need to consider 4 questions before teaching students to make purchases. The first question is, which stores does the student need to learn to use and for what purpose? The second question would be, is the goal to teach the student to make a purchase at a specific store or a set of purchases at multiple stores? Set of purchases. Number 3 is, to what extent will the student be taught to use money while making purchases? And the fourth question to ask is, how can students gain autonomy in making purchases? Teaching students how to purchase could look like this. Number 1 states general case instruction. So you're teaching in 3 different fast food restaurants representing the range of stimuli. So not every fast food restaurant that the student goes into is going to be the same. So we want to expose them to all different scenarios that they might encounter. General case simulations is the next one. So infusing a range of stimuli in school simulations. Computer-based video simulations. So ordering different fast food restaurants, checking out items across various stores, and reading various aisle signs to locate items. That can all be shown through a video. Another thing that we want to teach students is teaching money use. We want to teach them how to use money in a way that's going to work for them, which could be having the amount of money already prescribed, or using a template, which will help them guide which coins they need to take out. And then they could also just use a debit card, so they will not have to worry about if they have the correct amount of change in their wallet. It is also important to teach students community leisure. Community leisure activities may include dining out, going to concert or movies, participating in fitness classes, walking the park, participating in clubs, and going to special community events. It's important that we honor choice in leisure activities. Students with disabilities need the opportunity to choose how to spend their time. Choices can be expressed by selecting pictures of the activities or by using some other communication device. It is also important that these students select their own objects to relate to the activity as something that is meaningful to them. So say the student enjoys golf. There would be a golf ball or a golf club, whatever that they associate that image to an activity with. It's important that we use something that is meaningful to them, but can also be easily understood. Teaching self-initiation of leisure activities. Teaching the participants how to put a reminder on their wall calendar is important. Not only do they want to express what activity or community leisure that they would like to do, but it is important to teach them time management skills and reminding themselves on their own when it is time for them to have an activity. So teaching participants, again, how to put it in their calendar, whether it be on their phone or a visual on the wall. Another way to help students get in the habit of reminding themselves could be giving the participants a morning phone call to prompt the selected activity. It is also important to teach community mobility. Community mobility involves pedestrian safety, being able to use public transportation, and finding locations in the community. Here are some ways to teach community mobility. The first one being that it is important to over practice to make sure the student is confident in the specific skill. So don't ever think that you are practicing too much, because you can never practice too much, specifically when it comes to your safety. So crossing the street is a huge thing to practice. It is something that they will be doing possibly the rest of their life. So being able to practice that in order for them to be confident in that task is important. Another way to teach community mobility is to help students learn how to keep a certain pace without stopping, wandering, or sitting on the ground. Also teach students how to find a location by using, an iPad with pictures or different landmarks to help them find the end location. So kind of what we talked about earlier about learning how to manage or deal when you are lost. One way to help students navigate the community would be by using an iPad or a book that has pictures to help them find their way back. And you could use pictures of different landmarks that the students might recognize. And that is the end of teaching students skills in the home and community. Teaching these students all of these skills are important because eventually some students might be transitioning out of their parents' care, and it is important that we are preparing them for that transition and for daily tasks or life skills that they might encounter on the way. Thank you.